Hi, Neel. Welcome to the PowerUp Money podcast. How are you feeling today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me here. I feel great. It's lovely to meet all of you here as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I first learned about you through LinkedIn because I started following you as a marketer. Of course, you're a senior marketing leader. So I started following you around like 2, 3 years ago. And of course, I truly enjoy reading your extremely insightful, extremely real post,
Thank you.
which is, I think, a rare sight on LinkedIn, but I truly, truly enjoy that.
Thank you so much.
So we'll dive right into it, Neel. I'd love to understand how has your relationship with money evolved over the years? Like, what was it like when you first started, let's say, earning money to today when you're, of course, you've reached a different life stage?
Okay. I would say that, I've reached a stage where I've actively stopped worrying about money. Because, when I first started working, obviously there was a educational loan. There were, a lot of things which were there. And the moment the salary used to hit, there used to be a mental calculation. Now, day one, day two, day three, right? As in what remains and what do you do with it?
Yeah.
And you do think about it, but not actively, you're not worried about money anymore.
But when you started earning, like, how did you manage money? Did you start investing from your first salary only? Could you tell us a little bit about that?
So I joined Godrej right out of college, and the best thing that they did they were like, I think there were 59 of us management trainees, and we had an induction program. And on the very first day in the evening, they called people from ICICI, so people from the bank, people from the DMAT, ICICI Direct. So on day one itself, all of us had a bank account, had a DMAT account, and we had a like a PPF account. So it was, started on day one itself, right?
Sort of forced upon
Forced
you.
up, yeah, in a very, welcome way, I would say.
Right.
So that's how it started. But yeah, I think I remember investing around. I think I started with 3,000 or something. That's what I started with,
Got it.
because I don't know. I didn't even know if I was doing the right thing
Right,
essentially.
right.
And then gradually scaled it up. And I would say that I cannot think of even a single month where I have not invested since I started.
That's a lot of
working.
consistency. Okay. To put things into perspective, could you help me understand, what was your first salary like and what was your last drawn salary like? Like over the years, what did the salary progression and your career progression look like?
I got recruited out of college placements. So everyone who joined Godrej got the same salary. I think it was 7 or 7.5 on paper, and then you had a variable. So yeah. And then I moved to Jet Airways. Uh, Jet Airways was just like out of the blue. I got a call, seemed interesting, and they said that you get free tickets. So I don't think I negotiated on the salary at all. So I went to Jet. Jet, I got a decent increment. I would say I think I got a 50 odd % increment when I went there. The interesting part is that
So you left Godrej at about?
at 2016 April, after 4 years.
Okay.
4 years.
And the salary range at that time would be?
The increments at Godrej weren't like too much. I think probably I would have got around 20 odd % every year
Got it.
on an average. Then when I moved to Jet, uh, Jet, I was there for the first 2 years I was there. Then my boss sort of moved out, and then I was leading the team as a sort of an interim marketing head, marketing lead. That's when I again saw a good jump. Then I went. Then Jet essentially shut down. That was a time where which was, I would not say a bad time, but very uncertain. It was a lot worse for a lot of other people. But you sort of end up losing your PF. You don't get. A lot of people didn't get paid for the
Right.
the 4 5 months, right? As in, so that sort of accumulates. And then I went to VFS. Was there with VFS for 2 years. Then I was with Akasa till it launched. And after Akasa is when I joined this startup, which is an Australian AI company. And I would say that difficult to give a exact number because My last job was with a startup, and again I was in sales. So there was a fixed component, variable component, and then you got ESOPs.
Got it.
I would still say around 12, 13 times of where I started is where I landed.
Okay.
My last round salary.
Got it.
And now I'm on my own, so I have no salary.
So, of course, we spoke about your career progression and your, roundabout your last on salary also. There aren't a lot of people in this country who draw salaries that high, right? I mean, you would agree that, you would be more of an exception than the norm. So one thing that people feel with higher salaries is that, oh, it's so easy to like invest and build a bit bigger corpus and everything. But I remember reading, in fact, on your LinkedIn that your starting point matters.
Correct.
I mean, even if you're earning lesser, but you come from a family where you don't have responsibilities, where you have a family home, family car, then your expenses are lower.
Correct.
On the other hand, you could be earning more, but you have, let's say, education loans to pay off, or you have like, responsibility to take care of your parents and everything, then even the lot, seems lesser because you have to spend a lot more.
Correct.
What is your perspective on that, and what has your journey been in that regard?
So, like you said, as in, that came from a place of truth because that's our story. The honest answer is like, for example, now, right? We are at a stage where we're thinking that should we invest in a home? But, we go back to thinking that that'll add an enormous, sort of financial stress in our life as well, right? So, I feel that, the kind of costs that the big cities have, it's becoming really difficult for people to have those traditional dreams for them to come true, right? That is one. Second is salaries, like I said like before, are deceiving as well, because what you see is not necessarily what you actually get, right? When there are so many taxes, there are expenses, there are rentals, which have a tendency of increasing multifold, right? As in not just like in a linear way. So your salary probably grows in a linear way, but your expenses can just shoot up.
So I'd also love to just understand your journey of investing. So you said that you started investing with your first paycheck itself, which was sort of forced upon you because an account was just opened and then you started investing. When did it become more intentional? How has your investing journey also progressed over time? Could you talk about that?
So before I got married, I had a lot of time. So like I said, when I first started investing, I started investing in individual stocks. I look at investing from a marketing standpoint.
Okay.
Like, what's a product market fit? So I'll give you an actual example. I had a bad throat. I was given some, antibiotics and some, some anti-allergy medicines. And I incidentally noticed that both the drugs were made by the same manufacturer.
Okay.
So I went back, I checked it out whether they have a, are they publicly listed? They were. And I ended up investing money in that, right? Very little money again, right? But it grew.
Okay.
Like exponentially. So that's been my way of sort of investing, right? People will always wear footwear, or people will always, there'll always be a need for ABC. So that's my way of looking at things. That's how I've been investing. Now I invest very passively. I simply don't find now the sort of the time and energy to individually look at things. So I just chase, sort of invest in mutual funds.
So today your asset allocation, what does it look like? Like, do you still hold stocks or everything is in mutual funds?
No, I do hold some stocks which I had, from the very beginning.
What percentage would that be? And if you could tell us like percentage-wise, stocks, mutual funds, debt, cash.
I know that 30% of it is just all the debt instruments. 10% is liquid. In the 60 that I have, probably it's a 70-30 split now. 70 mutual funds and 30 in stocks, right?
Got it.
Because because I realized that I was holding a lot of stocks which the mutual funds were also holding. So I sort of
overlap.
Yeah,
right.
Tried to consolidate there.
Okay, makes sense. And what is your strategy with mutual fund investing? Like, what does your mutual fund portfolio look like? Spread across, let's say, large caps, small caps. How do you approach that?
So that's where, as in, it's right now like a 60-40 split where large cap, the stable part of supposedly stable part of, portfolio is large cap, and then 40 is sort of focused on growth, right?
Okay.
And as I grow older, because I'm 40, it's 40. As I grow older, I'll start keep reducing. Is at least a theory I have in my mind.
Okay.
That
Got it.
because then I'll sort of try and reduce my risk as much as possible.
So where did the importance of investing come to you? Like, was it the way that you were brought up that saving was always a part of like, growing up in your household also?
Very much. So, I don't know if you know, there's a series called Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Yes, yes.
Acha.
I've read that book as a kid.
You have, right?
Yeah.
So have I.
Yeah, yeah,
So there was a kid who goes to an ice cream parlor, and he ends up asking the server 3-4 times that, what is the cost of this ice cream we ordered. Eventually chooses something which costs 85 cents.
Okay.
And the server is obviously annoyed that why are you asking if you just wanted this, right? Anyway, leaves but the server finds that he's left $1.
Okay.
So the kid could have afforded something worth $1, but wanted to leave a tip, right? So that's the, sort of the upbringing that, it's not just, don't spend everything that you have. What are you doing, right? As in, my parents retired for now 15 odd years. You know, they teach kids in our village and they pay fees for a lot of kids. So that kind of thing was there. So what got sort of imbibed was not the fact that, give back to the community, but, be conventional in your spending. Have a fund which you could need maybe for yourself, someone else, or someone else in the family, stuff like that. So that was I would say, the thought that was planted.
Got it. Okay. So what tends to happen, Neel, is also like, of course, you've had times in your career when, you've got like good salary bumps, which means your income has increased. Automatically, a lifestyle inflation happens with such a thing. Is that something that you intentionally kept under control? So that you could like, keep saving, keep investing like, more amounts? Was that intentional? Did that just happen naturally? How did you keep your lifestyle inflation in check?
Once you get sort of married, right, as in what your partner thinks also matters. Right. I'm very lucky in this manner that my wife is also very grounded. We both come from ordinary backgrounds, and we've been lucky that those bumps have really not affected the way we live.
Right.
And even now, right, as in before this started, we were just discussing about my kids, education, right? So here there are schools, where you can pay 1 rupee, not 1 rupee, like 1, and then there's a 10x school as well, right? As in from a cost point of view. So that's a discussion we're having that, what kind of a school should he go to? Because you can stretch possibly, right? Put him in the best of schools, but then he'll be surrounded by, those people for whom, he'll always be conscious, and we'll always be conscious, right? So we don't want to fall into that trap. I think grounding is important. And one of the things is that I always keep thinking that, if I go back to Belgaum, and we're not even in Belgaum, like we are in a village in Belgaum district. I eventually have this in my mind that I have to go back to my village, right? So I also don't want to change so much that I won't fit in, right?
Fit in there. Okay.
The idea is to go farm. Everybody has the dream, but yeah,
wow.
Yeah, but I come from a farming family, so that's the idea. So that's why I don't want to change too much as well, consciously.
Like you still want to be able to relate to
Yeah.
and recognize that part of yourself so that you can like, go back and be that again.
Yeah.
So from what I understand, Neel, your father is an ex-banker. You also mentioned that, of course, once you get married, your partner influences a lot about how you think about money and everything. I'd love to understand how these different people in your life have shaped your outlook towards money. Like, what did you learn from different people in your life, and how do they continue to shape your relationship with money?
So my dad taught me that, discipline is important. That's been his, like even now he wakes up around 5:30, works out. Like, so that's the thing in the family, as in, I don't do that, but at least I aspire to.
Right.
That and I think this financial discipline, right? I learned from him is what I would say. He used to work in a bank, held the same job for like decades, didn't move across different jobs, only invested in debt instruments, but retired, built his own house, and every month he sends me some money every first of the month, right? I haven't like if I open my GPay, I can show you that he used to send me say X amount because after my son was born, he started sending me a little more. Marathi they say that cow essentially is something for the kid.
Huh.
So he sends that, and th- th- does he have a like a lavish bungalow or a fancy car? No, as in, but he's very happy with what he has and very, very independent, self-dependent, right? So that's what I learned from him, that if you have some discipline while you're earning, then you can have a very comfortable life later on,
Got it.
right? With constraints.
Okay.
So learned a lot from him as well.
Hmm.
Yeah. My wife is my sort of bouncing board. I would say the biggest financial hack that I know of is to get married. Because you need someone in your life who you are accountable to. Two people are always better at, uh, taking a decision than just one person, right? As in, we do, like my wife and I have these monthly sort of coffee things where we look at an Excel, look at, where we are, how we doing, so yeah, sort of like
So
that.
budgeting and all an active part of how you manage your money?
Budgeting, yeah.
Okay.
So we have a number which we know is our, expenses number, 10, 15%.
Okay.
The secret, I would say, is that, there should be a percentage for both, which is a no questions asked percentage, right? Like a 5%, 10%, right? Which doesn't come into the accounting part. You and your spouse are allowed to spend that on whatever, right? It could be shoes, purses, perfumes, camera, I don't know, as in whatever it is. So that, gives that, because when you're tracking the last money, then becomes a very, real pressure wala thing, right? As in, you don't want to be, you want to be accountable.
away from
Yeah,
spending.
you want to be accountable to your spouse, but you don't want to be audited by your spouse. Right?
Yeah. So also, Neel, Mr. Ajay Banga on the Nikhil Kamath podcast recently said that, Indians are Jugaadu and Indians love Jugaad, and that is something that really contributes to them propelling forward in their career also. Is that something that has happened with you also? Has Jugaad helped you do better in your career?
It's true, right? As in, I think I would say Jugaadu, which is a way of saying that we are more open. JDs are just suggestive. I would say that's what because I worked with people from outside, right?
Right.
And JDs are very important there. But here, JD is just sort of a thing that you get when you join, not really what you end up doing, right? But somewhere I feel that where we depend too much on Jugaad, right? We never end up getting the fundamentals right. I am a very sort of process oriented person. I feel that if you have a system, it's then the chances of success are a lot more.
Okay.
So I feel that Jugaad is fine, but it sort of gets in the way of consistently achieving your goals, is what I would say. I totally understand why Jugaad has come into play, because you don't really rely on systems. You're not sure if those would work. That's why we become what we become. But I think
you have to channel both sides.
Yeah, you have to be
whenever necessary.
flexible, but it's good to have a system as a North Star, is what I would say.
So, Neel, your last stint was also with an AI company. That must have given you a lot of insight into what's happening with AI today. Where is the world headed? Do you think that bigger companies like Infosys, TCS will be able to adapt to the AI change? Because, I mean, so far there haven't been great signs, and which is why, like, for example, IT stocks are falling so much. They're literally 40-50% down this year. So, from your view, do you think they will be able to adapt?
Again, my personal view, but I feel Indian companies have a lot more resilience than they are given credit for. The talent is absolutely there. The only thing is the how soon part, the timing part. If I'm not mistaken, one of these giants was the first one or was planning to invest in, I think, OpenAI.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think the vision was there, but somewhere it got lost. But yeah, I feel that we should be able to do this. And second part, which is, which we are forgetting, is that there's a huge gap between the model, the platform, and the actual execution. So there is still the space where you need people to implement AI, right, and to sort of customize it for your particular use case, right? Right now, product companies are actually being asked to by their customers to come in and help them, right? But that is not sustainable, right? They should just focus on the product, right? So there's that scope as well for some people to come in and actually implement, integrate those systems, create those use cases, build those use cases. I think that space is still pretty vacant.
Yeah, I mean, fingers crossed on that.
Yeah,
I think,
I hope so.
I mean, I also think that, companies will be able to adapt.
Yes.
But like you said, it's a matter of time.
Yes.
And markets can suffer if it doesn't happen,
Correct.
very soon.
Yeah.
So Neel, this has been a great conversation.
Sure.
But maybe lastly, I'd just like to understand from you, like, any advice for people who are on their journey to invest. You of course also come from a smaller city, who moved and is living in a city like Mumbai, which is a high expense city. And you spoke about your learnings regarding that it is a high expense city, so you have to keep it under control. You can't expand, you can't inflate your lifestyle in every way. Anything else that you'd like to leave our audience with? Any advice, any philosophy that's really helped you stay grounded?
I think probably I would say that financial planning is as personal as anything gets, right? As in, there's no rule which is applicable for me which will be applicable for you. There are general rules, yes, but so I think everyone should look at it very individually. How much can they save, how much risk are they willing to take, right? And but at the end of it, I think what matters more is the discipline. That adjust. I would say that adjusting your lifestyle now is a lot better than trying to earn more money, is what I feel, because there's only so much you can control, right? But if you can control your expenses, you can control your lifestyle. Yes.
Okay.
Very boring suggestion, but I think in my case at least, I felt that the boring stuff works, right? So that's how it is.
No, makes absolute sense. And thank you so much for taking out the time and speaking with us. Thank you so much for being so generous and sharing your learnings and your journey with our audience. And I'm sure a lot of people will benefit from your journey and what has helped you do better with your finances and even life in general. I think you're someone who has found a way to be content in life. So I think that is also a message that I'm sure will resonate with our audience.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time, Neel.
Thank you.
Look forward to meeting you again.